ATN Society Watch. The program places solutions that will benefit humanity. Let's go through the headlines. Cleaner impersonates doctor, assaults woman. Heroku kidnap, freed worshippers recount 6 days in captivity. Scandal, Bardin allegedly raped and impregnated inmates. And welfare, government sponsors mass wedding for orphans. We are open for sponsorship of the program, jingles and advert placements, news and events coverage, personality, society and political interviews, product service promotion, and commercials. Watch us live on www.atlanticnetwork.tv. We are also on Avo TV channel 205, Limex TV platform, Evostech platform, Apple TV, Ninja TV, and Iroko TV. Connect with us on all our ATN socials. Subscribe, like, and share. Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network, Instagram and TikTok, Atlantic TV Network 1. You can find us on X on Atlantic TV Net. We'll go on a break. When we get back, I'll introduce my guests and we'll dive right into the discourse. Please stay with us. Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us. You're watching Society, watching Atlantic Television Network, and joining us via Zoom to dive into this critical discourse is Kolawole Adedire. He's a public affairs analyst. Thank you so much for joining us.
That's yeah, thanks for having me.
Let's go right into the discuss. 28-year-old man Victor Claytus has been arrested in Ogun State for allegedly posing as a medical doctor to defraud and sexually assault a young woman. The suspect is a cleaner at Babcock University. He listed himself online as a surgeon. Police said Claytus contacted the victim on Snapchat, where he gained her trust and disclosed about the lump in her breast. He reportedly demanded money for a fake surgical procedure and arranged to meet her under the guise of treatment. The sexually assaulted the woman, stole funds from her OP account, and for offering medical assistance. The victim later filed a complaint leading to his arrest. Police spokesperson Omolola Odunto confirmed that it's on the investigation. Will be interact with strangers on Commissioner Police Gunlowo vowing that will not of violence against women. I mean, it's turning oftentimes grievous and sad. What are your thoughts on this report?
This just opened our eyes to things that are going on out there. You know, having to go to a doctor online. I mean, it's not a bad thing. We are in that age and era, but I think people should be a bit more careful about things like this. You know, it's one thing to meet someone online. It's another thing to meet someone when you finally meet the person, right? And along the line, you need to be much more careful. I mean, personally, I know it's not the thing um, everybody around probably does, but personally, if I'm not feeling well, for example, I mean, I already know if the particular symptoms for probably things like malaria and
Right.
such. But if it's something that is a bit different, the first thing I need to do is I go online, and probably just read a bit of probably from the symptoms I've been getting, try to understand what's going on with my body or in my body
Right.
before calling or reaching out to the hospital. I'm not saying it's bad to go to the hospital directly, but I mean there's information everywhere nowadays. You can do that a bit, then take your dog to the hospital. So when the doctor is checking you or giving you diagnosis, you can have a little bit of a clearer picture. And if something funny wants to go on, you probably also be aware. So
Right.
you can switch options, go to another hospital and get a better review of your health. But I mean, it's such a scary thing to think this can happen, you know. And bottom line is people should be much more careful out there because I feel like the woman was a bit too relaxed. Because when you see things like this, you'll probably be able to tell. I mean, it's
How,
one thing to
how,
be a doctor, it's another.
how,
Yeah,
how do you get to tell, especially when you look at reports like this, you find out that it's not like the conversation probably went on for a week before this lady decided to visit this man. And if you're, an ardent user of social media, you'd have discovered, as it were, that there's certain people that meets, you know, different levels of connection on social media. I personally have benefited from some of the people I have met by just being in the social media space. How do people learn, or what tenets are there to see? Can you state by your own opinion where people can draw off as regards connecting with people they don't know, and as a matter of fact, eventually meeting with them to avoid situations like this?
I mean, I'm not against connections. I mean, there are lots of connections that have helped people over time. I mean, connections are a good thing. But now we are not, I believe from the report, if I'm clear, it was not stated um, probably the place they met. But I, for one, would say if you meet someone online, for example, that claims to be someone, right, then the meeting place should be a good sign, right? This person claims to be a doctor from probably the same hospital he was claiming for. So I don't know, where do they meet? I mean, if someone tells you, oh, let's meet in in an office or in a place, then obviously that's a bad sign. Someone who is a doctor is supposed to be working, in a space that is called, a hospital, right? The
Right.
person cannot meet you in a hospital. Even inviting someone you don't know, obviously, to your home is not a good idea if you ask me, except you can prove to yourself that, oh, I've been using this person for a while, or I've been going to this hospital and I've been seeing this doctor for a while. It's okay for him to come home for treatment. You get where I'm coming from. But
Right.
just meeting someone that claims to be a doctor and probably tells you, oh, let's meet somewhere so I can do a proper checkup on you, that obviously is not a good is not a good sign. So these are the little things people should look out for everywhere. Like I said, it's not like there are no good people out there or good connections, or there are probably some scenarios where people have met doctors like this that helps them. But then again, we need to be. I mean, the world nowadays is not as it was in the old, like some people would say, where things were a bit more straightforward and people were a bit more human. Permit me to say, nowadays we have crazy people out there doing scary things. So we should also be much more skeptical about things like this. I mean, she could have gone online, like I said, she could have gone to the hospital herself, or reached out to someone that she
Right.
knows that could,
She
refer
she
her to a specialist or something,
absolutely.
you know.
She did talk about the fact that she could not afford, the bills in the hospital which she was given. So when she met the young man online, her assumption, especially given the personality he sold to the lady, saying that he's a surgeon, it was supposed to be like, okay, I've met a surgeon online that is willing to help me treat my ailment, as regards maybe I'll pay less than what I was originally supposed to pay. Now this leads us to where I ask you, what are your thoughts as regards, health insurance schemes where someone can take themselves to the hospital, have their life back, have their health back, and have the opportunity to pay up their bills over time. Do you think those are implementable policies that will see us, moving from circumstances such as this one?
Definitely, definitely, schemes like that would definitely help the public, all classes of people generally, which is why it would be much more better if our leadership, if our government is leaning towards more insurance policies that covers everybody literally. I'm sure there are a few out there, but at the end of the day, you find out that some of these insurances do not even cover some very intense treatment, if I may use that word, right?
Right.
I feel if some of them just cover basic packages, if you may use that word. When you sign up for these things, they tell you, oh, this is how much, this body will be covering. I'm speaking as per private. I'm not sure how the government one works, but I want somewhere else they told me 200,000 and this person tells me 100,000. I'll
Right.
be like, oh wow, it's a good deal. But then again, try to do a little bit of research. Because now we're ever talking about health, God forbid. I mean, she was obviously sexually assaulted. God forbid, could have been more. I don't know what could even be worse than that at this level, but with the rate of kidnapping, human parts, these things going on around these days, it could have been
Right.
worse. So, which is why I still said earlier that we should be much more careful, and also to the government, they should probably look. into this. I mean, they should literally look into it, not even probably, how to ensure that people can have free healthcare covered. And of course, I know nothing really is free, but at least they can literally pay back, gradually. I mean, someone that is alive that can even pay, right? So literally, our leadership should just look at these things so we can have better healthcare services in general.
Thank you so much for your insight on the report. Freed members of the Christ Apostolic Church, Oke Isegu in Eruku, Kwara State, have described their abduction experience by security operatives. The 38 victims spent nearly a week in the custody of armed bandits. Following their release on Sunday, the victims were taken to the Kwara State Government House Clinic for medical attention. Many appeared weak and dehydrated, and given food, water, and medication, while fragile were in the hospital. Of the victims, Bamidele said the abductors openly declared themselves as bandits and warned that escape was impossible. He described the dense bush as a stronghold where the criminals knew every route. Church Pastor David Oluwafemi thanked both the federal and state governments for securing the release of the abductors. He said, congregation had when the victims still undergoing treatment, that while their rescue was a relief, it was not yet a moment for celebration as the captives remained. To express gratitude to President Bola Tinubu for the federal support that contributed to the success of the operation. The story of Kwara State and the victims that were kidnapped in church from Eruku really did spark a lot of conversation for the most last week. It's been a few been released, even though the claims of this still brought a lot of news over that week when there was a live video streaming of their service meeting in their church, which brought the whole incident to light. Live footage of this active kidnap session going on, but right now they have been released. I want to get your thoughts on this report.
I mean, it's a great thing. It's a thing of joy that
Can you hear me? Mr. Caller. Back, we'll continue the rest of our reports. Please stay with us. welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. When you look at this report, Mr. Kola, you find out that this situation of this kidnap happening was actively streamed. And now the government has come to say, okay, we've been able to, through our security, outfit and agencies, we've been able to get this kidnapped church members back. Why do you think there is no feedback as regards were people arrested that actually kidnapped these people? The bandits we saw in the video, are they roaming free? Were their arms, seized from them, especially given the fact that about 2 people died in this attack when it happened at Ikoro? Do you think that, we, the citizenry, and the public deserve the information as regards how this rescue operation was made?
Yeah, I mean, that points, these are questions that we all are asking out here as well. This is great news. We have gotten almost 40 people back. That's a good thing. We commend the police and whoever was involved in the whole task. But we need to also know what happened. Pardon me. Was this a rescue mission? Was it a ransom thing, a mission? We need to have the details. As much as it's a good thing that we have improved, we are not trying to beat down that fact. But like you rightly said, we need to know. Give me a second, please. Like you rightly said, we need to know what was going on and how they were released, right? Because that's the only way we know if we are making progress in terms of security and all that. I understand that when it comes to cases like this, lives are more important. Most times investigations are kept private and all that. But the big question that I always ask things like this is, so what happens next? Are these bandits going to just keep hovering around and roaming around till they pick up someone else or pick up a group of people? So, in as much as this is a good thing, we need to also know from our security organizations, the security platforms, what are they putting in place to prevent things like this from happening next time? I mean, these people are back to church. Like you said, they had service yesterday. So does this mean they could still go to service again and they will be kidnapped? So what are the long-term solutions? So those are the big questions that I keep asking, that we should keep asking. I mean, it's one thing to say, the police could say, okay, this investigation is kept private, because of course cases like this are very sensitive, right? But then again, what are the long-term plans to prevent things like this from happening? That's what we need to know as a society, as people in this society.
Thank you so much for your insight on that report. A major scandal is unfolding at the Potiskum Correctional Center in Yobe State after an officer of the Nigerian Correctional Service was accused of raping and impregnating an inmate. The official, identified as ASC2 Sani Sela Badejo, allegedly carried out the act with the help of a female officer guarding the women's section. Officials say the inmate, Blessing Sunday, is already 27 weeks pregnant. Another inmate, Salma, was also allegedly assaulted by the same officer. Despite the gravity of the violations, insiders claim some senior officials are working to cover up the incident and push for an abortion. The case has reportedly reached the Controller General of Corrections through the Zonal office. Sources say the Controller of Yobe Command officially notified ACG Zone R, Adamu Yaya, in September, shortly after the matter became public within the service. The Zonal office has recommended disciplinary action, with several officials accused of involvement in a cover-up. They include the State Controller Abdullahi Ibrahim, the officer in charge Ibrahim Tafida, and other staff linked to the movement and protection of the suspect. Sources allege attempts were made to silence the matter, including meetings with the inmate's family and the reassignment of implicated officers to new posts. When contacted, the State Controller denied any knowledge of the case. The Zonal ACG also declined to comment, while the command spokesperson said he was investigating and would respond. When inmates go to the prisons or sent, like we now call it, correctional centers, we expect that they will be released back into the society whole and as better citizens. But when those in command downplay that and has in fact assaulted, prisoners or victims of, prison incarceration, what then becomes the fate of the common man? Let's talk about it.
I mean, it's when you think this country is trying to be better, in quotes, you just find out that things like this still go on, behind the scene. And it just goes to show that we have a long way to go as a society in terms of our morals, our systems, justice system, speaking in grand terms. Because now you find out that such a scary situation has been trying to be covered up, right? And like you rightly said, in as much as these people are prisoners, they still have their human rights. I mean, no prisoner deserves to be sexually assaulted because they are prisoners. I mean, but like I would say on the show, when things like this come to the limelight, that just means that this will be going on in many other places out there, or situations like this that have been covered for years before now. And if you look at the number of people replaying this whole scandal now, you see that it's not a small matter, given that the fellow woman was the one even opening the doors for such an act to be committed, given that some officials were trying to cover this thing up, just means that this such a this standard of things like this have eaten deep into our prison correctional facilities. And our government, the prison body as a whole, should begin looking into these things. I'm sure if they do that, they'll find out that things like this have been going on for long, and then we can properly, join us together and say no to things like this. I do hope that the perpetrators are brought to book, that is, including those that assisted in the act, and those that committed the act in themselves, and those that try to also cover it up. Because like when things like this happen, we feel to hear the final decisions. I hope we get to hear what happened, in the end. But now that just leaves the prisoners now that in quotes supposedly supposed to be corrected, since it's a correctional facility. Now they have to go through the trauma of such an act again. So I don't know if we don't think about these things deeply. It's just because of the fact that our systems are not strong enough to hold people accountable. Like I always say on the show, in this part of the world, accountability is one of the issues, it's one of our problems. It might seem like a simple word, but that is what allows the existence of many ill doings to keep still happening in our society. Things like this keep happening because people are not held accountable under the law. Things like this and more, even if it comes to governance, when it comes to security, when it comes to even we, the civilians, the things that we're supposed to be held accountable for, there are things that our government should be held accountable for, but we fail to be held accountable. The system fails to hold people accountable, except a
Right.
selected few, and most times, civilians that probably do not have, in quotes, power, basically. But when you find things like this going on, you see people trying to cover up, people trying to change the story because, the other party probably has, in quotes, nothing to lose, right? Such a scary thing to have going on in our society. But I hope the justice, our law, catches up to them.
Thank you so much for your insight on that report. Zamfara state government has concluded plans to sponsor the wedding of 200 orphans as part of a broad social welfare initiative. The ceremony will hold on November 23rd at the Zakat and Endowment Board headquarters in Gaza. Executive Secretary of the board, Malam Habibu Balarabe, said all beneficiaries were thoroughly screened ahead of the event. He added that the program aims to ease hardship among the state's most vulnerable residents. Alongside the mass wedding, 200 women running small-scale businesses will receive financial support to strengthen their livelihoods. Another 100 women who completed a 3-week poultry training will be given starter packs. Balaribe disclosed that the board has arranged to settle selected death cases in Sharia courts and correctional centers. This, he said, is to help individuals unable to pay fines or outstanding obligations. He added that some orphans who recently concluded computer literacy training will receive equipment to help them start basic digital enterprises. The initiative is part of the government's wider efforts to expand social support across Zamfara state. Do you think marriage is a form of economic support, Mr. Kolawole?
I do not think so. Definitely, it's not.
Why do you think the orphans, 200 orphans being given out for marriage, is a need at this time with the economic realities in Nigeria?
To be honest, I cannot give you an answer to that, at least a sensible answer to that. And it's just sad that a government, because I would like to think he didn't just come up with that himself, right? To think that the government is a group of people to sit down and think this is a good thing to do, right? And I mean, while you were reading the report, after going through it myself, the things that come after the whole, in quotes, marrying the orphans of were good ideas. For me, I feel were good initiative. You know, poetry, digital literacy, etc. and etc. Why do we have to put it as a what's the word to use now?
A prerequisite?
As a storm. Yeah, basically a prerequisite to the whole idea of the mass wedding. This is not the first time such a thing is happening, by the way. So I guess it's a thing, like I said on the show another time, when you have, different systems going on in a society, this is what you have going on. I mean, the mention of, in the report, the Sharia court was mentioned, which means it's definitely within their tenets. And definitely, when, like I said back then, we have such two systems like that operating. I mean, people like us, we don't have much to say, right? Because we do not understand the tenets, within the system of the Sharia. And well, for them, it might seem like a great thing, but for me, and I believe for people that are sensible out there in this age and era, it's just more like you are selling people off. Because now you say these people that have been screened, I begin to wonder what sort of screening are we talking about? Because, when we talk about marriage, when I talk about marriage on the show, there are lots of things to look at. So at this stage, and these things be looked at by a third party, without the consent of two people actually, which is a man and a woman, right? I don't know if some people see if that part of the world or that part of Nigeria sees marriage as such a thing, right? To give people out for. I'm not even sure how to analyze it in terms of using the right words. But now we say these women have been checked, or let's say these ladies have been checked, because we do not even know the age range. You and I don't know how the age range of these things work in that part of Nigeria, but that's a discussion for another time.
Absolutely.
What about the men? Right? What about the other end of the whole mass wedding thing? Are these men fit to house a family? Are they responsible people? These are things that can be looked at by third party or the government, right? What I expected them to have done, or what is expected of the government, is to ensure that people live a good life. Civilians live a good life. There's electricity, there's education, there's healthcare. These are your responsibilities. But leaving your responsibilities to marry orphans, it just goes to show how far behind we are, especially in that part of the world. Because there's so much more to do. Currently, we are battling with insecurity, still mostly in that part of Nigeria. And to think that some people are out there thinking about these such things, I mean, it's a bit the whole idea. I do hope, hopefully, this will be the last time I say things like this. But like I said before, this is not the first time, and I'm sure it's not really the second time. We are moving. The world is moving more towards AI, moving more towards tech. These are the things we should be looking forward to as well. These are the things we should be working towards as well. Like I said, there's security on one hand, there's healthcare, there's education on the other hand. In this part of Nigeria, these things are the barest minimum. Why not focus on these things? You find out, I think some weeks ago as well, I think was it Jigawa, gifted a couple of youths Mewa, this, I've forgotten
The
the
water
abbreviation
cats
of that stuff.
pusher.
The water cards, exactly.
Right.
As an empowerment. I mean, it's just a sad thing to even analyze because some might say, oh, maybe they're not so literate enough. Why not give them that power of literacy to be able to operate on a much more, grander scale than still subjecting them to little things like, water carting, selling up. For me, I feel like this is literally selling up women into marriages because I'm very sure not all of this. How many are they again? So 200, right?
Right.
Not all of these 200 ladies would be interested completely in these marriages. If fine, I feel like even if you want to say, okay, this is the thing we are doing, make it an open book. Let us have conversations, or let us seek conversations that we have with these ladies about if this is what they truly want for themselves.
Right.
But then again, like I said, we do not understand the tenets of the Sharia system, but that is what is being used probably for this whole welfare or empowerment program. So that's that's where I'm going to wrap it up.
Right. Now, I want to gather your thoughts also as regards. I think 2 weeks ago, thereabouts, a 15-year-old, a 15-year-old had, you know, gotten into an argument with her husband, and during the argument, she, while the confrontation or whatever it was that was causing the rift between them was going on. Note that the wife of the man is 15. The man had brought out, a knife and actually plunged it into her body and stabbed this lady to death. Now we have 200 people being given out to people because seemingly an orphan is technically the property of the government except they get adopted. Now these children or these girls were not adopted, so the government is their parent. So seemingly the government being the parent wants to give this, young girls out. How much vetting do you think would have gone into place to ascertain that these girls, a number of them, won't turn out, to be part of the statistics of women that get to die via femicide? What are the background checks exactly do you think would have gone into place? Kindly also note that we have had the governor of Zamfara State say that the bandits that terrorize Nigerians, that terrorize the North, live within them, and he personally knows them. What are the ideologies? Where do we drag it off that some of these girls are not even going to end up with this scared, with these bandits, with these terrorists, as it were, that we see coming up day by day?
I mean, I did touch on that briefly already. Like what checks have been done for the men that are supposedly supposed to marry these young ladies. It's bits. I fail to understand how this is a free and fair system or a system that favors anybody, if you ask me. Because if I'm in government or if I'm part of this government, the question will be how does this even favor this society? Don't get me wrong. Marriage is not bad, or weddings are not bad. These are good things. Pardon me, my short story. But the question is, how does this whole initiative of marrying off these orphans favor the society? For me, I don't see any good thing that comes out of it. I mean, the only good thing that from the report, the other few things that I mentioned afterwards are even the little good things. So why not, if you take these 200 orphans and you educate them, in technical skills, computer skills.
Oh, the government did say they have given them those. But let's move it a little bit. I get you. Let's move it a little bit towards the South. In the South, many people are quite literate as regards digital systems. Some people have an idea as regards how to use digital tools. But then again, how many people have been able to get the jobs to take care of themselves, their families, their husbands, as it were. Maybe husband take care of wife, wife take care of husband, and children. Factor in the fact that when a marriage happens, of course, that is 200 extra people. Hopefully, depends on, you know, biology and nature, having more children in Zamfara State. Do you think that when you look at it holistically as a people, as a society, especially because when you come out from your house half the time, you see beggars on the road parading with little children, looking for, you know, for arms in use to taking care of, feed these little children. You have children running after you on the road to say, oh, I've not eaten. And the fact that crime has grown simply because children did not get the basic service of what they need to be more inclusive human beings and adults when they grow up, and many people fall to crime. Do you think that in the grand scheme of things, having 200 people, even having one child each, is a good thing for us right now as a people when you look at it holistically from the angle of family and childbirth?
I mean, briefly, I touched about this. You know, maybe I didn't break it down properly. But you know, earlier I mentioned about the other things that could be looked at that could make the society better, especially that part of Nigeria. Education, you know, the welfare of the citizens. You know, this includes, of course, jobs. You know, where it's not just about training them or giving them the skills and whatnot. Where are the jobs that these people can operate in? Where are the companies? Where are the infrastructures? Like you rightly said, these are the major pointers, which is why earlier I also said there is no, I don't see any benefits that the marriage brings in, right? Especially, that's why I also said it's not like marriage is a bad thing, but I am sure out of those 200 ladies, not all of them really want that at this moment. And even as a government, that shouldn't even be, it doesn't benefit the government much, just like you've even done the analysis. This is just going to be a circle of more, because when they get married, of course, these people, there has to be reproduction, you know, kids will come along, and there's um, more numbers. In as much as having more numbers is not a bad thing, the state of the states literally still remains the same. What I mean by that is the educational system is still poor, roads are still bad, healthcare is still poor, you know, there are no jobs and all that. Why not focus your energy on those things and focus on equipping these women to be able to work in those places, equip them so they can even, you know, spread their wings and see where the wind will take them to, rather than keeping them stuck, you know, with the concept of, you know, marrying them off to other men that we do not know who and what these men are also doing, which is why earlier I said this should have even been done much more openly, you know, so the ladies can analyze that, okay, this is what I want to do with my life. Like you rightly said, they are orphans, they do not have parents. Literally, the government is the one setting all this up. So for me, for them, I feel like for them, it seems like they really do not have options. And that is where the government is supposed to come and give these women options to live life. Life is for a woman, it's not all about marriage, right? And even for the government, like I've said repeatedly, I don't think this is their job, but you know, the report talked about, you know, the Sharia courts coming into play as well. So maybe that is part of, you know, the religious sentiment, or you know, the Sharia system sentiment involved that allows it to be okay. But in this part of the world, you know, like we are diverse. I'm sure if you come to the west and the south and east, you probably not hear things like that going on. I've literally not heard things like that going on, you know, in the other parts of Nigeria. So maybe that works for them, but as a government, you know, that shouldn't even be part of their concern. If they ask for orphans, what is supposed to be equip them with the right skills, give them a chance to live a good life. And marrying them off does not equate a good life, if you ask me, because we do not know who these men are. Like you rightly said, these women will probably be seen as properties at the end of the day, because the government is literally giving them to men who we don't even know if they are ready. I mean, speaking for the men on the other hand, we don't know if they are even ready or if they are capable of having a family or catering for a family. So, I mean, it just raises us shades of wrong decision making from the government end.
Thank you so much for your insight on that report. This is where we wrap it up on this episode of Atlantic Society Watch. Thank you, Kolawole Adejire, for coming on the show and giving us good insights. We are open for sponsorship of this program, jingles and advert placements, news and events coverage, personality, society and political interviews, product service promotion, and commercials. You can watch us live on www.atlanticnetwork.tv. We're on Avo TV channel 205, Limex TV platform, Ifestech platform, Apple TV, Ninja TV, and Iroko TV. Connect with us on our ATN socials, subscribe, like, and share. Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network, Instagram and TikTok, Atlantic TV Network 1. We are on X on Atlantic TV Net. Remember that peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Thank you so much for watching. I am Otaria Benjamin. Stay with us. Up next is International Tidbits.